good choice. I don't look as fat in it.
We're live right now, so.
Oh, shit. Can we back it up? Okay.
It's out there for all the world to see.
All right. Fast forward to the beginning of the stream. Guess who's back? Back again. We're not ready yet.
No,
I thought you said we're live.
I don't like this phone. I don't like using
We're not
this.
live, or
We are live, yeah,
Oh.
but
Can you edit it when you re-put it up?
when I put it up, I
Okay.
will, yeah.
Are we live? Everybody's gonna hear our whole conversation.
Yes, we were out of practice. We have not
If you
done this in
caught
a
the
while.
beginning, that was our conversation.
Now I'm ready.
Now we could start? Okay.
Yes.
Guess who's back? Back again. True crime and wine couples back. Tell 292 of your friends so we could get to 1,000 subscribers. Welcome back.
Welcome back, everybody.
Well, we kind of took the summer off. It was a little crazy because I'd had such a crazy school year last year. So I had all these ideas of all this stuff to do in the summer, and here we are. And none of it was done. So we decided that since I'm back on the school wagon, we would get back on the YouTube wagon, and we would do a little impromptu live today, and we're going to talk about some things that have been going on. So who's starting us off? You start us off.
You want me to start
You
off?
start us off.
Okay, so I am going to start off with Sarah Boone.
He's a fan.
I am a
He's a
fan
fan
of Sarah
of the-
Boone.
Of the
Yeah,
comedy.
the comedy of Sarah Boone. Yes,
And the crime was horrible.
The
And she
crime-
filmed it, so.
and she filmed it. Yes.
But her shenanigans in the courtroom are amusing.
And as we all know, Sarah sort of pushed her judge to the limit, and he said, "All right, you've had 8 attorneys. That's enough. Now you're going to represent yourself, and you're going to deal with it."
Right.
So she said no. And she put this ad in the paper looking for an attorney, and she got one. She hooked one. She hooked a James Owens. He filed for an appearance, notice of appearance on August 30th, and said as of August 30th, he's going to be her lawyer. So I guess he's met with her 4 times in prison already.
Okay.
The first time did not go so well. But
Okay.
apparently they've worked out their differences, and now they're good to go.
Okay. I had a feeling just looking at his picture that he would make it. He'd be the one. And it was funny because I was listening to Court TV and they were like, I wouldn't represent her. And they were like, I wouldn't represent her. And one of the guys was like, I'd represent her. What the hell? It'd be entertaining, he said. So I'm sure the judge is very relieved that he will deal with an attorney and not
Yes,
Sarah Boone.
but the funny thing is, he has already told her that, and the new attorney has already filed for a continuance.
Of course.
But he had told Sarah there will be no continuance unless something, I forget what his words were. Let's see if I can find it. I can't find his
He's
words.
definitely over her shit.
Yes, way over her shit.
Can we
Yes,
curse him? We just cursed him live. It's what it
that's
is.
okay. We can curse on
We
the
can curse him
line,
live.
right?
Okay.
All right. So this is what he said. Judge Kranick
Okay.
previously warned Boone that the trial will not be continued for any reason
Right.
except by extraordinarily good cause, and such extraordinarily good cause shall not include retention of counsel by the defendant. So he's like, I don't care if you get a new lawyer, we're still going. And right now it's set for October 7th.
If this were Delphi, I bet you it would probably go in 2028 because Judge Gold would give them all the time they wanted. Oh, and there's a hearing tomorrow for
There
Sarah
is
Boone.
there's a
evidence
motion,
hearing,
a
yeah.
motion hearing tomorrow,
An
some
evidence
sort,
hearing,
some of
so-
this will come up about the continuance early. I'm sure the attorney will bring it up.
Well,
a
you
little
know
bit,
what
right?
you know what it's about. She doesn't want the public involved. She doesn't. She was arguing that she doesn't want us she doesn't want the cameras and the public to be at the hearings.
It's Florida, that's not gonna happen.
No, it's not going to
Yeah.
happen. But she did try to argue that.
Yeah.
And she said that it's, affecting her case, the fact that we all know what she did. Well, what's really affecting your case, Sarah, is the fact that you filmed it.
Yes.
It's not us. It's you, honey.
Now, what I found interesting, and I knew she did some sort of ad, but I never saw it. So I'm going to read you what this ad says because it is borderline brilliant / hilarious.
She's got some advertisement
She
chops.
definitely does, yeah.
But the funny thing about it is it looks like something maybe a high school kid would do, you know?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Because she only had what was available to her at the jail. So
Right.
she, you know, it looks like a kid's poster kind of.
So this is her ad. It says, inmate seeks attorney. Looking for a prosperous challenge? Ready for your close-up on national television? Are you zealous with a side of keen? Show the world who you are with your original creativity, extraordinary expertise, and confident ingenuity. Qualifications must include being trustworthy, honest, passion-driven, open-minded, exceptional problem-solving skills, client inclusion at all times. So basically that means you're
Are
going
they
to listen to
moving
me,
into the
bitch.
jail? Is he?
So client inclusion at all times, team orientation, collaboration, extreme efficiency in listening. In other words, listen to me, bitch, because I'm going to tell you what to say. Communicating, understanding, dedication to success, possessing a winning mindset, capability of excellence in representation, committed to maintaining faith in the client, so you believe what I tell you.
Even though I videotaped it.
In faith in the client and case with the ability to think differently, overcome all circumstances. Epic opportunity awaits. Sarah Boone, number 20005623, Orange County Corrections Department. Invest in the oppressed. Believe. So this was filed on July 18th, and she got one. She hooked one for herself.
Well, if I was an attorney, I would do it.
And she's
what
right.
Do you want the publicity?
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. She's gonna get somebody. I mean, somebody's gonna see
I
it
would
as
do
just for the publicity of it.
And I think she'll be better with a male. I don't know why. I just think she's the kind of woman that gets along better with men than women. You could just tell.
Yeah.
You know, so. Was everything spelled? Did you do a grammar and spell check?
I did not do it, but everything looked okay.
Looked okay.
It looked right when
Okay.
I read it a couple times, and everything looked spelled correctly, and she had some pretty big words in there, so.
Well, and what was funny is everybody that I've been watching on Court TV and stuff like that says that her defense needs to be the battered woman's defense.
And that's what they're going for.
And that's what he's going for. But it didn't look like she was going for that.
No, and I guess she
You
got a
know?
lot of that stuff off of her phone. Like
Oh,
he got
okay.
a lot of the evidence off of her phone that he's going to use.
Oh, that she was being abused and
Yeah.
battered? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, interesting.
So at least he has a plan.
Right. So when does she go on trial again?
October 7th.
That'll be something to watch. I'm
If
looking
it's not
forward
continued,
to
and
that.
I wonder if it's going to be continued. I mean, I wonder if this guy's going to back off a little bit and say, all right, we need to give this guy at least a couple months
She
to
went
get caught
through
up.
8 lawyers.
I know. I know the judges had it, but
What do you think? Let's make a prediction. You think it'll go? I think it's going to go on time. I think this judge.
I think it's going to continue to
You think?
January.
Okay.
I'm going to say January. Give him like 3 months to
Okay.
just to get caught up.
You want to put your bets in the comment?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, comment
Yeah.
October as scheduled or postponed.
We'll give you a
until
shout
later
out our
date.
next live and we'll toast to you if you
Yes.
get it right. There you
Absolutely.
go. That's what you win. My students always want to know what they win. So that's what you win.
Yes.
Okay, so more craziness because I'll talk about this before I talk about Delphi. Is I don't know if anybody watched the Wade Wilson trial. So what happened was I started watching this Wade Wilson trial because I watch whatever's popular on Court TV. So that was about the middle of June when school was ending.
Right.
And I'm like, this is gonna go viral, I said to myself. Just from the way the dude looked, from the way he acted. He wore a purple suit. He named himself after the Deadpool character because I believe his name was JR. It just looked like it had all the makings of a popular courtroom / TikTok drama. And that is what it became. So if you've watched any of this, this man did heinous crimes. took a woman home from a bar, and they hooked up, and while she slept, he strangled her. Then he tried to move the body in her car, but he couldn't move the body. So he just stole her car. So then after he stole her car, he went and asked a woman for directions and got this woman to get in the car. I don't know how he got her to do it. She was walking to work. I guess she didn't miss work in like 5 years. She never missed work. Got her in the car, killed her in the car, and then ran over her over 10 times. Ben confesses to his dad. Confesses the whole thing. You can listen to the whole confession. His jail calls are blowing up the internet. He's got millions of people following him on TikTok. Or following his story on TikTok. So anyway, the dude is covered in facial and neck tattoos. He's got a swastika under his eye. So that was the first drama with the crime. The first drama with the crime was, can he cover the tattoos? So they gave him the right to cover the tattoos, but then he didn't cover them. So I think the makeup didn't work and nothing covered them.
Right.
So
He's got a lot.
he just went in his purple and red suit and all his, tattoos. So he became like the Team Ted Bundy. All the women, all these women are like, free Wade, he's so hot, he's so beautiful. So they got a petition with 40,000 people to not give him the DP, because what happened was, now he's the first person to get the DP after Ron DeSantis signed that thing to amend it, where you need 9 jurors or something, 9 out of 12.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's the first one to get the death penalty after DeSantis signed that, which I found, it's historical if you think about it. So all these people
And that's what he
signed.
had too. Was it 10 out of 12 or was it 9
He
out of 12?
had 9 out of 12 on the one
So-
case and 10 out of 12 on the other case.
So he got
He
made it.
Yeah, so
Under the old law, he wouldn't have been able to.
he wouldn't have been right. It wouldn't have been unanimous.
Right.
Correct. Right. So all these people petitioned. When he got sentenced, the comment section was crazy. You had to be. It was one of those you had to be there. You can't catch up after the fact. Every language you ever saw was on these. French with a bunch of heart emojis. Arabic with a bunch of heart emojis, and the emoji with the face with the heart eyes. And the only other place I've seen this before, which was really interesting, was if you go and watch anything about the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, there will be tons of women, if it's alive, like if they put it on live on YouTube or whatever, that are talking about how hot he is, and all the hearts, and all the love emojis. There was the spicy pepper, there was the flaming heart for him. It was insane, and that's the only other place I've seen it. And this is a disorder. We should do a deep dive into it. This is a disorder that women have, where they want to save these men.
Right.
And it was crazy to see. It looked like if you
just
were in the live.
the amount. You can understand a few here and there, but the amount.
It looked like the whole world had gone
Yeah.
crazy in those lives. It was insane. So that
I think the whole world has gone crazy at this point.
if you have time on your hands, go back and watch the Wade Wilson trial. They have all like the snippets. They have like the opening arguments, the closing arguments, and you can watch his jail calls. It's insane. And he's got all these people that he's talking to, and all he basically does is try to get kiosk money. But then he got kicked off the kiosk.
Yeah, he's getting tons of kiosk money, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Didn't somebody set up a GoFundMe for
There was
his...
a GoFundMe, yeah. And the one thing he was cold. He wanted Long Johns, wanted Long Johns. So then he shows up to the sentencing in his Long Johns in his prison suit. So that was really interesting. And the dude is huge. These women didn't have a chance. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah.
He's real tall. So it's a complete shit show. If you want it, like I said, if you like drama and you like crazy
the funny
people.
thing was when he at his sentencing, right before the judge, like they were in there doing all their stuff, and they took a break,
right.
and when they were coming back, when the judge was going to read the sentence, somebody pulled the fire alarm. Like right before he was supposed to come into court, somebody pulled the fire alarm, delaying that. So yeah, they were trying to.
And what the judge determined was that the aggravating factors of the crime superseded the mitigating
Far
factors,
way
which was the
outweighed them,
fact that
yes.
he, you know, he'd been adopted and things like that. So that's why he got the death penalty.
Yeah.
So now when they transport him to the new facility that he's going to, I forget the name of the correction center, they're going to transport him secretly.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to know because people are just all over this case and they'd probably show up at the
Oh,
transport.
I'm sure, yeah.
You know, and he likes men, he likes women, he's got a sugar daddy giving him kiosk money that he talks to on the phone. Then his ex-girlfriend, she goes by Mila, but her name is Melissa, I believe. She's been interviewed on a bunch of the podcasts. And shout out to, if you want to see a good YouTuber who shows the jail calls, shout out to Jumpsuit Pablo. Said he did Hard Time for 10 years, love him, and he plays the Wade Wilson ones with commentary, and it's not a lot of commentary, it's a lot more funny than if you just listen to the jail calls.
Right.
But they do have a channel that just plays jail calls, so if you want to listen to that, it's quite interesting, and it's something to see, it really
Yeah.
is, so. And it's a horrendous crime, and
Totally, yeah.
I think the judge and the jury got it right.
Absolutely, yes.
Because it was just senseless violence, it wasn't like
Exactly.
he acted
There
in a
was
moment
no-
of passion, or, you know, he was driving drunk and he ran somebody over. I mean, this dude wanted to kill and carried out the killings and then admitted to them,
Right.
you know, so I think he's going where he belongs.
No, so do I. I think they got that right.
All right, so next you want to talk about the case related to your favorite case of all
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
The
there's
Karen
some...
Reed, is Karen Reed your favorite?
No.
Delphi?
I think Delphi.
Delphi's my favorite, and then my second is Watts.
Yeah, I think Delphi.
Well, not favorite, but, you know, most interesting to me,
Right.
I should say.
So there's some interesting things going on again. You don't want to look. There's some interesting things going on again up in Massachusetts. So Karen Reed, we all know the Karen Reed story, but this is also coming out of Canton, Massachusetts. And if you're not familiar with it, it's a really sad case, and it's very disturbing. This Sandra Birchmore, who was 23 when she was killed, was being sexually abused by 3 different police officers in the Boston area. The one who's being charged, Matthew Farrell, was the one that has been abusing her since she was 15 years old.
Right. And groomed her, they said,
And groomed
right?
her, yep. And then
Yeah.
there was 2 other officers that
Right.
were doing it as well. But he was the first and the last. But he was the one that actually was doing it while she was underage. Because I guess in Massachusetts, the age of consent is 16.
16,
So she
right.
was 15 when she
And
started.
that's mostly every state.
Yeah. So she was found dead in her apartment in 2021. At the time, she was 23 years old and she was 3 months pregnant. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, where I'm sort of tying it into the whole Karen Reed thing and just everything up in that area. It seems like there is a lot of police shenanigans that go on up in that area. Now, the interesting thing was that when she was found, the death was ruled a suicide. So this was 3 years ago. You know, this has been going on for 3 years. It was ruled a suicide and pretty much forgotten about. Now, the interesting thing is that Matthew Farrell, who was just arrested on Wednesday by an FBI SWAT team,
Right, I knew that.
he was not, his charges are federal charges. They're not state charges. These charges are coming from the feds.
Why, because he took her over the state lines?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, because they're the ones that uncovered all this.
Oh,
Now, they're not
okay.
saying why they went in this direction with it.
Relegated it to a federal crime versus
But-
okay.
But my thinking is that we know that with Karen Reed, the feds have been investigating that case for years.
Right, right.
The feds have been on the sidelines doing their own separate investigation. So I'm thinking that somewhere along the lines this popped up and that investigation took them off into another direction.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Oh, there you go.
So the interesting thing is that it's the same district attorney,
Right.
Michael Morrissey,
Right.
who was doing the Karen Reed thing. So there's a lot of crossover here, and it's going to be really interesting to watch. But I mean, I think this is a slam dunk. They have this Matthew Farrell on video going into her apartment the day that she died. He said he was just going over to break up with her or whatever.
Sure he was.
But the whole situation is just very odd, and there's going to be a lot more coming out. This is just recent this week. But this is going to be interesting to watch. But thankfully now, this Sandra Birchmore is going to get her justice.
Right.
Whereas before they were just sweeping, the local police were sweeping it under the rug, the local district attorney sweeping it under the rug. This is just a suicide, nothing to see here, let's go on with our business. Now, all this is coming out, and thankfully, the feds actually kept looking into this, got the evidence they needed to make this arrest, and now move forward with it.
And I think this happens more than we know. This happened in my own hometown. There was the police chief was involved with an underage girl.
Mm-hmm.
And the crimes against children are just getting disgusting now.
They are.
It's just
Yeah.
kid after kid, starved, tortured, abused. It's just horrible. I think we just live in a throwaway society, with animals and children or anything that needs your care, you to care for it,
Right.
And the situation with pets is terrible too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kane. Share us on your Twitter. We need more subscribers. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about Delphi.
Yes, we'll go into Delphi now.
All right, so I was there for Delphi for the hearings at the end of July and the beginning of August, and it was one of the most awesome experiences of my life. It took me 12 hours to get there. I hopped in my car and he was working, I went by myself. 12 and a half hours, I was in Lafayette, not Delphi. So the next morning
I did not think she was going to go through it. I really did. I kept pushing her to go. I thought it would be really good for her. And just so you know, where we live in Pennsylvania, it takes, we're basically on
the very other end.
One end, and she has to go through that. And I'm like, all right, so if she makes it all the way through Pennsylvania, gets into Ohio, then I think she's going to stick with it. So when she told me she was in Ohio, I'm like, all right, she's good to go now.
It is the most boring ride. You just go through Pennsylvania and go through Pennsylvania and go through Pennsylvania. But anyway, so then the next morning, they were opening the courts at 8 a.m., and I was afraid I wasn't going to get there. So thanks to, who was it? Right? It was the cat guy, right? Finex.
Yeah.
He told you, right?
And so did.
And Frank Meister told me on. Thanks to Frank Meister too. I met him there.
Bob.
And Bob answered us too. Yes, and I
Bob.
got to meet Bob there. So anyway, I got there at before 6 in the morning. There is not a light in the town. I drove up onto a curb. People observed this. I had no idea where to park, right? So what I did was, the cops told me where I could park, and I was in between WTHR and Fox, and I think I probably ticked them all off because they were setting up to do their streams. So I got there before 6 in the morning, waited for 2 hours, went in. There weren't that many of us the first day. It just blew my mind. The courtroom was super old. We were up on the 3rd floor. The seats were from 1850. People were actually there from the Indianapolis News Channel and stuff like that. With we used to call them sit-upons when I was in Brownies, with cushions for oh my goodness, it was so uncomfortable.
The stadium cushions they
and
have
it went
when you go to games.
It went all freaking day. The last one went till 10 o'clock at night. It was insane. I saw Richard Allen. It was surreal. I sat behind, mostly it was Libby's family. There were some people there from Abby's family too. Wonderful people. My heart breaks for them. Judge Gull was surprisingly professional, and I was surprised she was as nice as she was. Nick McClelland seems to be a lot better in person than he seems to be from what you watch on YouTube and TV. He was actually better. This one outfit he had on though, oh my God, he looked like I was craving popcorn the whole time. He looked like Orville Redenbacher, I swear. It was like the tan suit with it was insane. So anyway, what else happened? Oh, everyone there was wonderful. The local news people are amazing over there. The people from Indianapolis were amazing. I got to talk to Bob Mata. He's wonderful. We have the same brain. It was strange. We were like talking about the cases the same way. And it was just really interesting. Some of the highlights of the testimony were Dr. Monica Walla. She was a psychologist who met with Richard Allen in prison. And they kind of need her testimony, but then they kind of discredited her, the defense. The defense basically proved that she was a fangirl that had gone to the bridge, took her picture on the bridge, like all that kind of stuff, and was following the case.
And she didn't document anything, right? Like she.
Well, no, she took the notes and then destroyed them the next day. She talked to Richard Allen, mentioned the case to him. So her whole testimony was that he found Jesus and wanted to confess. And he confessed over 60 times. And
Yes, he did.
they still didn't come up with anything that made me think he was or wasn't guilty except for the confessions. I don't think another really cool moment, well, I don't know if it was a cool moment, but it was a very theatrical moment, was when Andy Baldwin had all this stuff. It was piled. Then they had an intern guy who looked like he worked at the haunted house. He had on like tails and like a tux, like with like, it wasn't even a tux. It was a suit, but it was like tails and it was all black. He looked like half like the crypt keeper and and he was young and half the funeral director. He was the weirdest looking guy. But anyway, so he's the intern. So he comes out with this big pile of stuff. And, I mean, it's piled high on this cart. It looked like it was going to be a magic trick. You know what I mean? And he proved that was the data from one cell phone. So he was trying to show, like, how much stuff is really out there and how much stuff they have to go through and things like that, you know. So that was a really interesting part, too. When Monica Walla testified, I'm a special education teacher, for those of you who don't know. And we are all about documenting, keeping records. When she testified that she destroyed her notes from the sessions with Richard Allen, like, all of us were just looking at each other like, WTF, you know what I mean? That's rule number 1.
Yeah.
If this stuff is gone, she can't, unless she destroyed it to save his ass, like, because she's into the case. I don't know. I never heard anything like it. And she said that was the policy and that was what they always did, and I guess she should know the policy. And she was basically the main person there at the prison.
It's amazing.
So there was
the incompetence is amazing to me.
There was also a lot of talk about, it's just like one more person in Delphi effing things up, you know? Then they talked a lot about, you know, how his life in prison, and the whole problem is not that he is being held in a state facility. The problem is he's in protective custody. So he's no different than somebody on death row or anything like that, and he's not been convicted of any crime. So then they talked about, you know, his history. He has major depressive disorder. She said that's not a major depressive disorder, but according to the DSM it is. So they went back and forth with that. And then they did talk about, you know, the eating his poop incident, and he was smearing it on himself too. And we talked about this, and I said, so then they talked about, like, you know, if you were in this situation, it's a stressor, but you're not going to have a psychotic break unless you have those tendencies in the first place.
Right, yeah, you're...
And we talked about it, and I can't see any situation in which I would eat my own crap or smear it on myself.
I can't either.
I mean, maybe try to kill myself or hang myself, but
well, that to me is that's... I'm going to say normal. Nothing's normal about this, but that would be like a normal response. You would think that you're put in this situation.
You just want out.
And you just want out because you don't see any way out. You know, same with like if you're like a POW. You know.
Right. Yeah, but not eat your own poop.
No,
what
exactly.
Prove,
yeah,
you know?
Right.
He's very small. He's smaller than me. I'm about 5'5". I've gained a little weight recently, but he is like half the size of me, and he's shorter than me. So, and at one point it was really strange because they were escorting him out, and I had to pee because it was like hours before you could pee, and I was going out, and they were escorting him out. Like, I was like, from me to the phone, I was that close to him, and then I just went back to my seat and waited for them to take him out, you know. It was funny too, one of Libby's family members said to me, I'm gonna sleep through this shit, so kick the seat and wake me up, she goes. And guess who the first ones were at the door? Comment, and I will mention you in my next video.
Yep, make a guess.
You can guess who the very first people, the podcast you can smell was first at the door. If you know who that is, comment, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. So it was an amazing experience. Everybody said it was the trial before the trial. The main highlight of the trial was the very last guy who spoke, and he was a blood spatter specialist. And he was trying to prove the blood spatter was not ritualistic. It was part of, it was just part of the crime scene,
right,
you know. And another interesting thing is everybody seemed to think that Libby was the target, but Richard Allen apologized for Abby only. And now there's a lot of speculation about maybe Abby was the target and Libby was collateral damage because she was in the way. Because of the fact, and then they talked about he dressed Abby, but he dressed Abby in Libby's clothes, so he couldn't have dressed Libby in Abby's clothes because Libby was quite a bit larger than Abby. You know, so then everybody started talking about that kind of stuff. So the trial's coming up October 21st. If there is a trial, if he pleads.
Yeah, boy, at this point, I don't know. I'm leaning towards him pleading because I just don't know how the defense is going to overcome now that Judge Gall has officially said all those confessions are in.
Right.
How are they going to overcome all those confessions? Even the fact that there's a lot of confessions that have wrong information, it's still just the amount of like. And in the beginning, I knew there was some confessions, but I didn't know the number.
Right.
And I figured, okay, with the road the defense is going down, they could probably easily explain away those few confessions.
Right.
How do you explain away 63 confessions?
And to multiple people. If he had
Right.
just made them to the warden or to his prison buddies, whatever
Right.
they were called, that would be different. But he made them to so many people.
Exactly.
You know, and then the whole saying he found Jesus thing,
Yeah.
which a lot of people do in prison.
Yes.
So there's that going. So that's why I think that the defense was trying to discredit Monica Walla, because she was saying that, you know,
Right.
she was testifying to both. She was testifying that he was under duress, but he was also, you know, he also made those confessions and he wanted to come clean because he found God.
Yeah.
The vibe I'm getting is that his wife and his mother and the defense team don't want him to confess. That's the vibe I'm getting. I could be wrong. That's just my personal opinion. Do your own research, you know. It's funny because the other stuff came up. So the Kegan Kline thing came up, and the reason why Kegan and Tony Kline were cleared was because their cell phones had been used in their normal manner at their house all day. I don't know what the hell that proves.
No.
Anybody could have been on your cell
Exactly.
phone. But anyway, that's how they were cleared. And it also came out, which I didn't know before I went to the hearing, that Libby's grandmother was the one who told him to look at Brad Holder. They investigated Brad Holder because of Libby's grandmother. But nothing was found. Oh, Amber Holder was on the stand. Oh, and here's a funny, this is a little funny tidbit. Jerry Holman was never there for his testimony. We always waited for Jerry Holman. And at one point during the trial, I almost yelled out, Jerry, Jerry. I would have totally been kicked out of there. Yeah, I don't know why Jerry, get to your post. Like, we're always waiting for Jerry Holman. It was ridiculous. I don't know why, you know. So, and then there was there was documentary people there. They were from LA. They're gonna move to Philly. They were telling me everybody's from Philly. Everybody in Delphi was from Philly. It was Bob Motta's wife is from Philly. I swear, it's like they're everywhere. So that was Delphi. It's a beautiful little town. Everybody was so nice and so friendly. People are miserable here where we live.
Yes,
It's
they are.
probably the East Coasters. I was really surprised at how nice and welcoming, because I thought it was going to be kind of like Deliverance, you know, the way they talk about it. But I did not go, so I went to the bridge. I went to Abby and Libby's Memorial Park. I didn't even think to see the tombstones. Frank Meister posted the tombstones. We're going to have to go when we go for the trial. I did not go to the Hoosier Harvest Store. And the reason I did not go to the Hoosier Harvester is because it wasn't Deliverance, but I could hear the banjos as I went down the street. And I'm like, I'm going to die here. And it was broad daylight, it was the morning. There was nobody. The Abbey Lee Memorial Park was dead. There was nobody there. And I went to the CVS and, went in the CVS. They were very nice in the CVS. Of course, I didn't. I looked around for Richard Allen's poster. I didn't see it in there, so. But yes, everybody was so nice. In fact, I was like, for a little while, I was like, I'm moving to Delphi, but there's nothing there except, 2,900 and some people.
Right.
So it was amazing. If you can get to the trial, go. It's so cool. It's so neat to see it. I've never been to a court case before, except for that time I was on jury selection and I didn't get chosen. And it was just the coolest thing ever. So, and I'm getting a van when I retire and we're going on the road and I'm going. I can't wait I'm going to go to a bunch of the list hearings. If I was in Florida, we'd totally be at Sarah Boone tomorrow.
Yes.
And I would have been at Wade Wilson too. So it was a really amazing experience. And like I said, everybody, the deputies working there everybody was so nice. The podcasters there were nice. It was just, a big, wonderful community, which I didn't expect it to be after all that stuff came out with the murder sheet, talking about the internet cranks.
Right.
You know what I mean? But of course, Rick Snay wasn't allowed to be there, and
No.
Anthony Greeno was on the run somewhere. So, the only cranks there were probably the murder sheet, and I don't consider Bob Motta a crank. But the murder sheet's got some inside something. They're way too close to the victims' families, and there was somebody there who was writing a book who was supporting them, and they got some insider information.
Well, yeah,
and then you saw they just took Kevin Greenlee off the
Yeah,
list
Kevin
of lawyers
Greenlee was actually listed as a lawyer on
that
the
was
case.
involved. Yeah, I think that's because they petitioned the court for those documents.
That's what he says. I don't know.
That's what they say. Yeah. So.
I don't know. I don't know how much of that to believe. But we've always said they're getting something from someone.
Yeah,
and they actually have a narrative that they're following.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they definitely push one. So this week we got Sarah Boone coming up, and we're going to be working on some more Watts stuff, because you guys can't seem to get enough of Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger, so we've talked about Nicole Kessinger a bunch, so now we're going to talk about Chris Watts.
Yes.
Who's not as interesting as Nicole Kessinger.
Not even close.
No, when you watch, he's kind of bland.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, if it wasn't for what he did, you would think he was the most vanilla dude ever,
Yeah, but in one of these episodes with Chris Watts, we will go over my freak out moment. Because I had a major freak out moment the other day.
Yes. And actually, there's some stuff said about your freak out moment.
Yeah.
Oh, and we're also going to be diving. We're watching the Lacey Peterson stuff now before we watch
Scott Peterson.
Scott, and we're going to talk about that. But I mean, they're testing that DNA, so that should be interesting
Right.
too. That's something coming up. So.
Yeah. So we got a lot coming up.
So stay tuned. We
are back.
We're committed. We're back.
Summer's
we're committed.
over.
Summer's over. We won't ever do this again. And subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000. We're gonna put out content for you. Leave us comments. We love your comments. Criticism is always accepted. Anything else?
Well, what we were drinking today was we finished off the rest of our tangerine cider that we got from Angry Orchard a couple months ago.
And he thought it would be bad, and I'm like, well, it's already fermented. Isn't it already bad? He's weird about alcohol. He won't.
And milk.
And milk. He freaks out over milk. So.
And chicken.
And chicken. So happy Labor Day. Catch up on your Sarah Boone. Catch up on your Wade Wilson. Catch up on your Delphi. There have been a lot of docs dropped. There's so many docs, like you can't even keep up with them.
Yeah,
now.
I'm
getting ready for the trail.
I'm on the train that Delphi's not going to happen. He's going to plead.
And if there's anything else you want us to talk about, leave it in the comments.
Absolutely.
Send us a message.
All right.
We are True Crime and Wine Couple, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
All right. Sounds good.